Hand turns new, flesh, weaving dragons of thread.
The dragons. The rats. And you. You'll be dead.
As I was watching the House of the Dragon's new season the past couple of weeks, I couldn't help but feel the usual unnerving sense of annoyance that I feel towards most of its characters, particularly the Greens. All of them, except for Helaena. I think we can all agree that Helaena is precious and needs to be protected, right? Why does no one believe her? The girl is spitting facts, and if anyone ever listened to her, or half of the things that she said, half of the things that she prophesied wouldn't even happen in the story. It seems everyone in Team Green have one brain cell which they tend to just ping-pong between each other during crucial times. While her family treats her prophecies like the disconnected ramblings of a sheltered princess who spends more time studying insects than politics, we as an audience know that her visions tend to pass, and that they all come true. Every single time. So, does this story sound familiar? Where did I read this story before? Oh yeah! Homer! No, not that one. The ancient Greek Homer. Of the Iliad and the Odyssey, Homer. Helaena Targaryen is Westeros' version of Cassandra, a woman gifted, or perhaps cursed, with the ability to see the future, while being condemned to watch everyone ignore her. Interestingly enough, this isn't something George R. R. Martin wrote in Fire and Blood. It's something the television series deliberately created. So today, I want to explore why the writers transformed Helaena into a dragon dreamer, why she's so similar to one of Greek mythology's greatest tragic figures, and why her silence says more about House Targaryen than any dragon dancing battle ever could. Also, before I jump into this video, I just want to say a massive thank you and welcome to all of you who have subscribed. We recently hit, as of the time of recording this video, 734 subscribers and aiming for 1,000. If you'd like fantasy analyses, character deep dives, author comparisons, and the like, please consider subscribing. If you would also like to support the channel further, please consider becoming a member. You get a lot of perks, including the use of emojis drawn by yours truly. Thank you for being here and for supporting me. Now let's get back to the video. If you never heard of Cassandra, don't worry. I will gently scoop you out from under your rock. Once you know her story, you'll never look at Helaena the same way again. So first things first. Show of hands for whoever had studied the Odyssey and the Iliad at school growing up? No? Just me? Okay. Long middle school literacy course story short. In Greek mythology, Cassandra was a princess of Troy. Homer writes in his Iliad and the sequel Odyssey about the Bronze Age Greek-Trojan War. There's this prince called Paris. He gets given an apple and he has to pick the hottest Greek goddess out of Hera, the goddess of marriage and Zeus's wife, oh the irony, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. This is all Eris's fault, of course, as she liked to cause chaos and created apples to cause discourse amongst the gods by writing to the most beautiful on it. Every goddess gives Paris a super cool perk if he chooses them, but Aphrodite knows what Paris wants, what he really, really wants, and promises him the most beautiful woman in the world as a wife. Paris is like, sign me up! Helen of Troy gets taken or kidnapped to Troy, whatever it is you believe in, and the whole of ancient Greece launches 1,000 ships to get her back as she was the queen and also someone else's wife. Anyways, who is Cassandra? According to the myth, the god Apollo fancied Cassandra and granted her the gift of prophecy. She could see the future with perfect clarity, and she foresaw the fall of Troy. She warned against the Trojan horse and predicted countless disasters. But when Apollo gave her this gift, he expected Cassandra to give herself to him, and Cassandra refused. After she rejected Apollo's advances, he cursed her. He couldn't take away her gift, so he did something arguably much crueler. He made sure that when people hear her prophecies, nobody would ever believe her. So that's the tragedy of Cassandra, seeing the future, warning people and people ignoring you, and having to live through it and people still not giving you props or saying sorry. So this is where we see Helaena be similar with this ancient Trojan character, but this version of Helaena also doesn't actually exist in the books. In Fire and Blood, Helaena is described as gentle, kind, beloved by the small folk, fascinated by insects, and utterly devastated by the horrors of the dance of dragons. But she is never explicitly described as a dragon dreamer or portrayed as someone burdened by prophecy. That entire aspect of her character is a creation of House of the Dragon. I personally love it because it creates a three-dimensional depth in her character. This is one of the good changes of the showrunners, in my opinion. Dragon dreams, for those unfamiliar, have always been part of Targaryen history. They're not always necessarily described as dragon dreams. Daenerys actually named them that in her point of view chapters in A Song of Ice and Fire because she oftentimes dreams of dragons in her prophetic visions. Dragon dreams basically mean any dream that a Valyrian descendant, particularly a Targaryen, would have, and there's a big emphasis on Valyrians or Targaryens because the few scarce Valyrians we have as a point of reference in the books tend to have these prophetic dreams. As Viserys said in season 1 of House of the Dragon, had many dragon riders but very few dreamers, and I believe he was stating this in a way where he seemed to admire the ancestors which showcase this gift. Daenerys the Dreamer, the first Targaryen that we know of, saved her family by foreseeing the doom of Valyria. Other Targaryens experienced prophetic visions that shaped history. Again, in House of the Dragon we learn about Aegon the Conqueror's dream of the Song of Ice and Fire and the prince who was promised. Usually these dreams become sources of power or a warning for Targaryens. Knowledge becomes influence and influence becomes political advantage. But Helena's dreams never work out that way. She gains nothing from them. Instead, we see in the show that they isolate her. When she speaks, people don't actually ask questions. They kind of smile politely and treat her as a walking plague and avoid her, or they ignore her completely. Her family dismisses her because of who she is before they even consider what she's saying. That's perhaps the cruelest part. Nobody thinks she's worth listening to. I just want to give her a hug, honestly. Helaena, you deserve so much better. When we see Helaena as the young version of herself the first time, one of the show's earliest examples of her prophecy is almost invisible the first time you watch it. He'll have to close an eye. Weird, you might think. But for people who read the story, this is a warning sign that Aemon's inevitable loss of his eye, claiming Vhagar, was coming up soon. This line suddenly becomes very chilling because, like her family, we are left with confusion instead of understanding, which comes with foresight, which is 2020. Perhaps the best example is Helaena warning everyone to beware of the beast beneath the boards. Fans debated its meaning for weeks once this episode was aired, and eventually we discovered that it referred to Rhaenys bursting through the dragon pit floor during Aegon's coronation. And again, she was right, but nobody had the context to listen. One thing I love about the show's portrayal is that Helaena is almost completely removed from the political scheming the rest of the characters do. Otto manipulates, Daemon schemes, Larys plots, and Alicent negotiates. But everyone believes that they understand what is happening. Ironically, the one person who actually does understand what's coming is treated like background furniture. She's physically present in almost every major family gathering, and I kind of think that's very similar to Cassandra. Then we see that the story's cruelest moment comes with Blood and Cheese. Whether or not Helaena understood exactly what was coming is left deliberately ambiguous for the viewer. But the possibility that she knew, and that she still couldn't stop it, changes the entire scene. If she truly saw fragments of the future, then she wasn't simply experiencing grief but the inevitability of losing her son. Perhaps this is why she pointed at him straight away, whereas in the book she tried to offer her youngest son. Imagine watching fate approach while everyone around you is too distracted, too proud, or too dismissive to notice. If we also look at House Targaryen's dragons who were alive during the time of the dance, Helaena has Dreamfire, one of the oldest and most significant and magnificent dragons alive, yet Helaena almost never uses her. Compare that to Aemond, Daemon, or Rhaenyra, for example. They treat their dragons like weapons, which is what ultimately causes House Targaryen to lose their dragons in the end. I feel like for Helaena, Dreamfire almost feels like a reflection of herself. We didn't see much of her and her dragon in the show, but knowing her, she treats all living creatures with gentleness and respect, and I believe she would, as she said, not have any beast harmed. So why did the show do this? Why invent prophetic dreams for Helaena when the books never explicitly give her that role? Because prophecy transforms her from a victim into a symbol. She becomes the conscience of House Targaryen, the only character consistently speaking the truth, the only one who isn't manipulating events, the only one trying to, however cryptically, warn everyone. Her tragedy is that the future comes as she sees it, and no one listens to her warnings, just like Cassandra did in the Iliad. Cassandra's curse was watching people choose not to believe her, and Helaena inherits that same burden. She's ignored because she is a timid, shy character. She's also ignored because she's strange and doesn't speak the language of power like most other characters. This is what I believe makes her one of the saddest characters in House of the Dragon. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of House Targaryen wasn't that nobody could stop the dance of the dragons, if only everyone listened to the one person who might have helped or warned them. That's what makes Helaena Targaryen Westeros' Cassandra. And if you stuck around this long, please subscribe and give the video a like. Channel memberships have now officially been unlocked, as I mentioned before, so if you would like to support this way, it would also help me keep doing what I love, which is making videos about fantasy analyses. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.